It is an honor to have Professor Bradley Smith with us, chairman of the Center for Competitive Politics, former chairman of the FEC. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm good. Good to be back with you, Mark.
Well, it's a pleasure. Let me just ask you this. John McCain really had a hate-on for you, didn't he? I mean, it was amazing. Why? Because you opposed the McCain-Feingold bill?
That's basically right, yeah. John was not fond of me at all.
Well, that makes two of us, so don't be too worried about it.
That's right. Beyond that, I just received not go into that.
All right. Well, now, there's a whole list of us, by the way, in that category. Now, Bradley Smith... Yep. What's that?
It is a bit of a badge of honor, isn't it?
Yes. Now, Bradley Smith, you wrote a very compelling piece in the Wall Street Journal. You laid out from the public record, point by point by point, how the Democrat Party has been pounding Internal Revenue Service from the president on down to unleash its powers against 501c4 nonprofit organizations, didn't you?
Well, I hope so. And the reason for writing that is precisely because we're seeing the press kind of saying, well, there's no smoking gun, no hidden memo from the presidency, like from Barack to IRS, get conservatives. There's no, they're saying anything out there. And in fact, it's all right in plain sight. You just have to look at the letter. These things are public letters these senators have sent to the IRS specifically urging them to investigate specific conservative groups. They name them by name. These are public comments, public press releases. In one or two cases, they're testimony that's come out through the congressional investigations. And, the point that I try to make is it's not like you need some secret, super secret hidden memo. This is all just going on above board.
Came out of the White House, it's come out of the Senate, it's come out of the House, but particularly the Senate. I think they saw these 2010 election results. It got their attention. I think they see these conservative and Tea Party groups. That got their attention. They never disliked 501c4 groups before, did they, Bradley?
Well, 501c4 groups have been around for a long time, and, nobody was complaining in 2000 when the NAACP Voter Action Fund, the 501c4 group, ran ads accusing George W. Bush of being complicit in the lynching of a black man because he was against hate crimes. He signed the death warrant for the guy's death penalty, but he didn't favor hate crimes legislation, and they tried to tie him that. Planned Parenthood, Voter Action Fund, the Sierra Club, all kinds of these groups have always done this type of, quasi-political work, talking about issues and a little bit of stuff specifically about candidates. And you're right, that's never really been a problem. But come 2010, all of a sudden all these Tea Party groups and other groups on the right start getting involved, and this suddenly becomes, well, as the president referred to at one point, a threat to our democracy.
And not only do we have this huge scandal, and it is a huge scandal that goes deep into the official Democrat Party, up into the White House as a result of many of the things you're pointing out that are public record. Now the Internal Revenue Service takes it one further step under the latest Obama appointee, and they're codifying all of this, are they not?
I think that's right. If you look at what was going on with the scandal, and they were targeting groups based on certain buzzwords and so on, I think... and that got them in some hot water. And so now I think if you look at it, what they've sort of done is reverse engineered it. They've said, okay, well, what were those groups doing that we want to get? Let's make it illegal for groups to do that. And as a result, they will get some liberal groups too. But I think for the Democrats, they view those as just necessary casualties in a war, and they think you're going to inflict a lot more pain on conservatives than they're going to take on their own groups. And
the war primarily is against Tea Party groups, isn't it really?
That's the big target, the Tea Party groups and groups like Americans for Prosperity, anything remotely connected, 6-8 steps removed from the Koch brothers, and they're just going after, sort of let's put it this way. Again, there's no enemies of Obama's list, at least not that we know of, but you don't need to actually write them down in a list. The folks know who they're trying to get at. And you're right, it's the Tea Party groups and other groups on the right.
And yet, we could put that list together based on these letters these senators are writing, couldn't we?
Well, that's true. And one of the things that's been overlooked too much is people are saying, can we tie this to the White House? is, the White House is not the sole source of Democratic power in Washington. And it is these senators, whether they're working complicitly with the White House or not, these senators have been pounding, as you say, the IRS over and over and over. Senator Levin writing numerous letters. Sheldon Whitehouse convened a hearing of the Crime and Terrorism Subcommittee to investigate why the IRS wasn't going after these conservative groups. Crime and terrorism,
And by the way, Professor, not just investigating, but prosecuting. They want them prosecuted even before there's an investigation.
That's right. That's right. And the other thing, Mark, that's really worth pointing out, I hope people read the piece that's in the Journal. I really appreciate your flagging it and having me on. But it's worth noting, that's like the 1,000-word summary, right? If you go to the website of the Center for Competitive Politics at www.campaignfreedom.org, campaignfreedom.org, you can click on IRS, and then there's a heading at the top called IRS. And then there's a whole timeline that lists dozens of more events, including complaints filed with the IRS by the Democratic National Committee, campaigns by liberal groups writing complaints against organizations with the IRS and urging the IRS to regulate and prosecute these conservative Republican organizations, a whole host of things beyond what's in the Journal editorial.
Mr. Producer, let us post that. What's that site again?
It's www.campaignfreedom.org. And
all right,
I don't have it right in front of me, but there's look a bit, and you can find an IRS timeline.
We'll find it, because that's amazing. And the thing is, you're exactly right. It's even more notorious than a list. You have all these entities within the Democrat or the liberal sphere participating in this attack, so it's obviously pretty damn well organized, isn't it?
I think that's right. And, you may disagree, Mark. I think probably most of the career employees at the IRS are probably, to be honest, kind of aghast at this. They don't want to be caught up in this. They don't want to be trying to regulate politics in this way. But they're essentially doing what they're told. And I don't mean they're doing what they're told, again, that there's that memo that says, get these guys. They're getting letter after letter from Democratic senators. They're getting hauled before congressional committees. They're getting complaints filed. They're getting raked over the coals repeatedly. And people respond to that. They say, this must be what Congress wants, and they start doing it. And, that's what's really nefarious about this. The abuse of power is much more subtle than a guy like Richard Nixon. And the media just totally wants to overlook that and feels like as long until they find a memo signed by Barack Obama, that says specifically to go get these conservative groups, they're just not interested.
Well, they're having a hell of a good time with the IRS because they're unleashing the IRS under Obamacare, too, Bradley Smith. And here's my other thinking, and I've talked about this, or my other thought. Really, we need a fair tax or some sort of a flat tax. The IRS, it's obviously subject to abuse and politicization. It's too damn big anyway. It is a counterproductivity. This thing is, in a republic, should not even exist the way it exists.
Well, I obviously tend to agree with you. And one of the things that's interesting here is, the IRS is going ahead with these new rules now that you mentioned, and they have been adamant about this. The Republicans in the House just the other day passed a bill to try to delay these rules.
And what did Obama say?
And Obama sent out a veto threat. He said, I'm going to veto this. And I'm told that in the budget negotiations, reliably told last fall, that was the sine qua non. When Republicans said, we'll give you spending for this, we'll give you spending for that, just stop these IRS rules. Obama was like, no, I want the IRS rules.
All right, so Bradley Smith, doesn't that close the circle, really? He starts off with the State of the Union, then his IRS is issuing these rules. He knows they are. As a part of the budget deal, I heard the same thing. The Republicans brought it up. He said, no way. Now he says, if this actually gets through the House and then gets through the Senate, I'm going to veto it. Doesn't that tell us everything we need to know?
It tells us it's pretty darn important to the man, yeah, that's for sure.
Well, Bradley Smith, you're a great patriot. I've followed you all these years, former chairman of the FEC, and you're doing a great job in your current position. We will link to that. Thanks for writing this. It was very important. We appreciate it.
Well, Mark, thanks for all you do, and thanks for having me on tonight.
All right, God bless. There are dots to connect. If you go on my social sites, Mr. Producer's putting their website, their link on it. As he pointed out, that Wall Street Journal op-ed that he wrote as a guest contributor, you just heard some of it. But you have the Democrat Party, you have Democrat senators, you have members of the House, but particularly senators. You have Obama himself pushing it, and now they're doing it. Comments have actually closed today for these new regulations, which are aimed specifically at conservative groups, Tea Party groups, and I'll add one other group of individuals and so forth that are involved, pro-Israel groups that were attacked. That's right, including evangelical groups. This is nefarious, this is diabolical, and this is your Obama administration.